So my season at Milford definitely ain't go as planned, man. I was frustrated with the game. I still had love for the game, but it was like, man, I don't know what I want to do next. So, but fortunately for me, like over the time, still schools wanted me. It wasn't the same schools, but D3, it was more D3 opportunities now since my senior year didn't pan out like it was supposed to. So D3, I was looking at Albright, Wesley, and Ohio Dominican. So I talked to my friend, rest in peace, Evan Pittman. So I talked to Evan. He was like, before I started going on these D3 visits, he was like, bro, you're not a D3 player. You don't belong on that level. So like that kind of like influenced my thinking. So like I still went on the visits. So I went to Wesley. Wesley seemed cool. It was D3 powerhouse. I go there, coach like, man, we actually shocked you here. We got you ranked as a D1 AA recruit on our board. So that got me thinking too, like, dang, am I really settling? So I'm like, all right, I'm tired of Wesley. I'm like, all right, coach Drass. And I'm like, okay, I'm interested, but I'll get back to y'all. Next school I go visit Albright. They in Reading, Pennsylvania. So I actually was the #1 recruit on their board. So they wanted me real bad. So like the school was like 40,000 a year, and they was only going to try to get me enough grant money, so I only had to pay 5. So like that's how much they wanted me. So mind you, they D3, but they got the nice locker rooms with TV in the locker rooms, number on the jerseys, nice stadium. So like I'm feeling them, but it's like in the back of my mind, I'm remembering what Evan told me, like, yo, you ain't really a D3 player, you don't belong in this level. But needless to say, that's the school I should have chose just because I was prepping like, hey, look, man, I messed up some opportunities, my grades and all that. So this way I gotta start all over like I'm used to, which is building my way up. That's what I should have did. But he got in my head and influenced me, so I didn't even go there. So I end up bouncing around. So after the not going to Albright, I didn't even visit Ohio Dominican because I was like, man, I'm just going either I'm gonna sit out a year or I'm gonna just try to figure something else out. So one of my actually Trey Father put me on with Virginia State, and they was like, all right, let's see his tape, blah, blah, blah. They liked me. Of course, I couldn't get a scholarship because it was late down this point, but they was like, we can do a preferred walk-on situation, get you in like the ROTC program and get you a grant through them and all this other stuff, right? So I'm like, all right, that sounds cool. I get up there, man. They tell me my ACT score a point too short, so I wouldn't qualify. So now I'm like, all right, man. Like I'm like, damn. Like now I'm a little frustrated because I'm like, man, I should have took this test more than one time because I know I can get a point. So, bang. So I actually get up Virginia State. I sit out the year. I go through classes. My GPA was cool, probably like a 2.6, 2.7 up there. Bang. I get the paperwork because for walk-ons you gotta do all this type of paperwork. Give him the paperwork. He said I didn't have enough classes to be eligible, so I wouldn't even be able to play in the spring. So I'm like, man, I ain't trying to sit out another year. So I'm like, man, look, I took the class and then my teacher ended up getting it, but it was too late. So I'm like, all right, but I ain't feeling this neither. So I tried to double back and see if Albright was interested. Then this one I really learned, like, man, you gotta take your chances when they there. Man, I hit Albright. They act like they ain't know who I was, man. He was like, man, unfortunately, we really can't do nothing with you. So I was heartbroken. I ain't gonna hold you because it was like, man, I was just the #1 recruit on y'all board last year. And now y'all don't know who I am.
I met Timothy Adams back in grade school. I was about second grade. He was about third grade, and we grew up together in private school. His mom was my favorite teacher of all time, and we just used to always play sports and basketball, football, baseball, kickball, dodgeball, everything you name it. And that's always been my guy since for about 20 years now. When I first knew Timmy had a real love for football was back when we were younger. We used to play football out on the cement. And this man used to be out there jumping for picks and diving and trying to make tackles. But mind you, while we played on the cement, and that's when I knew that he was like an all-out football player, that he really loved the game. Even now to this day, Timmy still is like really, really competitive. Like every Sunday we play basketball with a bunch of our friends, and this man, he's still competitive. Even at the court, you'd think he's still going to the league like nonstop. He always saying and one and getting buckets and going to the foul. And that man he really hate to lose, like hate to lose. Like he could be the only guy on his team who really can get buckets, and then he lose and he just get really mad. Recently, he told me that he always loved football, always wanted to play football, and that's been his dream since we were kids. So recently, he wanted to join a football league. So he found a football league. It was ran by a black guy. It was called the Baltimore Indoor Football League, and this was his shot that he wanted to come out of retirement for. So me being his boy, I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe you should stay retired and try to get a job. And he like, nah, bro, I'm gonna chase this dream. So he joined the league. The league had about six teams in it. He get in the league, everything going good. We come to the game, me, his peoples, his brothers. We come to the game. He out there doing his thing. He balling, doing everything he got to do. And then come to find out after about 5 to 6 games, they found out they weren't getting paid. So after that, the league wound up getting shut down. And after that, I knew that he was gonna have to go a different route and hopefully chase his dream another way. And he kept doing that.
What he told me in private was that, hey man, like I always thought you can backdoor it based on everything he saw from interviews with 30 for 30s, players that he loved like Randy Moss, Iverson. He always thought that your talent pays for the bills that your talent pays for your meal ticket. What he found out was that even though he has A+ talent, still probably the fastest, still knows the game very well, still knows everything about football, it's ultimately not up to you to decide if you are good enough to actually make it in or not. That's another game behind the game of football that he learned a lot later. I know with this documentary, he wants to show people like, hey, like you could be the best person on the field, you could be the best at anything you do, but you always got to remember that even though you're the best, you don't call the shots. Like that.